I had a question actually for the group. In your would be earlier days before you got into a position where you were able to, command financial compensation for what you did. How many of you operated in a volunteer type of situation? Because one thing that I see now, and I see a lot, players coming out of college who want to coach with no experience are demanding, in some cases, ridiculous salaries, having never coached a game in their lives and actually never really had even on the volunteer basis with it. So that seems to be a bit of a thing too. So I know in your jobs, your progressions in coaching, how much of that paying the dues, I guess is what we used to call it.
Well, I can speak for myself because I was teaching school and coaching. The coaching I did outside of school, getting into hockey, was volunteer, and there may have been gas money, and it's the same with Tom right now. I think he may be covering his expenses only or barely, but he's basically volunteering and relying on his and his wife's retirement incomes to do what he does, and he's just gets satisfaction from doing that. Today's generation of young coaches, there's no doubt about it, everybody wants to coach for a living. Hell, they think, oh, there's great joy in that. Well, let me tell you, I think there's great stress in that. And I think when you attempt to get into it to earn a living before you've learned how to coach and learn how to communicate and relate to people will spell your doom. And I think experience is the best teacher. And I find working in the role I play, watching girls hockey coaches, all of the coaches, yeah, sure, they'd like to work for a living, but they've all reached the point of satisfaction at what they're doing at this level. And they're probably more open to learning at this level because they're not aspiring to get to a paid full-time coaching position. So I really like working with community elite hockey in particular. Now, the community hockey, not elite hockey, to me is also satisfying. But you got to know what you're doing it for. And like Hal said, when he talked about finance and his reason for doing it is it's a form of coaching and making life better for people moving forward. So I think they got it. The magic word is why. Know your why.
Yeah, I think too, and Hal, I think you're frozen again. Are you there?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear. You'll appreciate this, just kind of going back to what you were talking about, people making financial decisions. My dad had a sixth grade education. When he was 12, he began working on a farm. They would pick you up Monday morning and drive you out to the farm, and you'd sleep in the barn. And then on Fridays, they would drop you back at your house. You'd have the weekend, and then you rinse and repeat that. But I remember my dad, even though he did not have much of a formal education, he would always say to me, "You know what the best book ever made was? Ever written, not written, but made?" He said, "It's your pocketbook." He said, when you make a mistake and it affects your pocketbook, you'll always remember and you're going to learn from that.
Yeah,
So,
I like that.
When you
That's
mentioned
great.
that always-
I love that. That's great.
Write that one down, Hal.
I am going to. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Johanny had a really good saying similar, but hockey. He said the answer is always in the net. You know, your offense or defense. He says the answer is always in your net. And
I like that.
if you're
good.
scoring, you're doing something right, and if you're not, and same thing if you're getting scored on.
I always say that hockey is a constant feedback mechanism. You know, and there's, like other sports, there's more failure than there is success for sure. And if you think about it like that, you should then be able to learn from your failures. But most kids just do the same things over and over again. In terms of coaching and compensation, we see that here in Minnesota. These guys come out of the National Hockey League and want to coach, and they don't last very long. They want to coach high school hockey, and which pays a princely sum of anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 or $6,000 for a season. The money is in running what they call the summer training program in the community, which everybody signs up for because the high school coach is running it. Although the high school coach rarely shows up, but they pick up $500-600 a family, so they can make another $30,000 or $35,000 doing that. But like you guys up in Canada, there, you know, a lot of when you went, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, you had to be a high school teacher to coach a high school team. So you had to have a coaching certification from the Department of Education. And so you were a teacher by day and a coach. It's an extracurricular activity. So you got paid a little bit extra to do it, another $3,000 or $4,000.
We didn't get anything here.
Didn't you?
No,
Nope.
nothing extra.
Yeah, and some of it was extra.
But you
I
had to
guess.
be a teacher to coach.
But then they
the head
ran out of
coach
coaches. I mean, they ran out of people that were willing to do it. And so then they loosened up the requirements so that anybody could coach high school hockey. And that, I didn't think that was very good. And then, you know, if you had USA hockey level 4 or 5, you had this, that was okay. But they can get around all those things. Now they make high school coaches go through their coaches program through the National Federation, which is like 60 hours of, it's okay. It's not great, but I mean, I have done it. So most of the youth coaches in Minnesota are parents, and their kids are on the team. So they do not get paid. Paid coaches average, though, if you're a non-parent paid coach, which I am, averages, you know, between $2,000 and $5,000 for the season. But I would, you know, postulate that your winter coach is the most important coach you'll ever have. And they're the least paid. So the kids all go to skills camps. They go to skills training programs. They'll hire, you know, Andy Ness, he's the skating instructor for the Wild, and he runs a skating school, and they'll hire him for $150 an hour. But the head coach of this kid's teams are making 60 cents an hour. But if you talk about developing hockey players at a team level, those people should be the most highly compensated people, but they're not. So, you know, I have a pretty good deal with the organization I'm with. So I've gone on 6 years, and they pay me decent. They pay me high school coach money, and they pay my expenses when we travel, which is not a lot, but we go out. They like to go to out of town tournaments, so they pay my hotel rooms and stuff like that. But you know, then I usually end up spending a bunch of the money because I don't like the practice jerseys, so I go buy different ones. And you know, I spend money on the kids, and I did that when I was coaching high school too. So it's not a it's not a career. And then all these guys coaching. I mean, there's more junior teams popping up. The North American Hockey League, has 3 to 4 new teams every year, and they got to put coaches in there. And a lot of these guys are young; they're in their 20s, haven't coached a whole lot. And they turn over. Coaches turn over a lot. The other thing that's starting to happen is this player advisory business, which I'm doing a little bit of. And they pay you to help them navigate from high school to junior hockey. And there's getting to be more and more and more. And guys are quitting coaching in juniors and going into player advisory because they think they can make more money doing that. Where a kid's family's paying anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 a year for you to make phone calls and send emails, I guess. And it's kind of a funny business. I'm doing it, but it's hard you have no control over any of it. And so just try to help these kids understand the landscape of it. And then I had Sean Goodsell, remember we had him on a few weeks ago, and I had him talk to my son when he was in junior hockey, and he said, David, how many times do you have to hear no before it's time to move on? And because some kids it's 1, and some kids it's 10 or 20. And again, the feedback mechanisms are if you don't go to 8 or 9 camps and never make a team, there's a message there of some sort. So yeah, hockey is a multi-billion-dollar business. Youth hockey is. It's $1 billion business just in Minnesota, I think, at least.
Yeah.
And so now it's my impression is it's about the money now. It's not about hockey. It's about the money. And what I always appreciated when I came to Canada with my teams, whether it was Silver Sticks, we won Silver Sticks. That was pretty cool. But we came up to Canada a couple of times with Bantam team and junior B team. And we didn't make the final round, but we still had 2 days left because we had airplane reservations. And they come up, somebody from the tournament would come in and go, hey, want to play another game? I go, yeah, sure. It's great. They call them friendlies now or something. They say, well, yeah, we'll have tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock work for you guys? I go, yeah, that's great. Right? That would never happen in the United States.
Is that right?
Oh no, you go to a tournament here and nobody even talks to you. They cash your check, put your name on the board in the arena. When you walk in, it tells you what locker room to go to. Nobody comes down and says, hey, thanks for coming. And so